The conclusion is this, and this is where I love it, because at the end of chapter 10, verse 21, Israel says, all day long I've stretched out my hands. That's one of my favorite verses. I just love the fact that God is still stretching out his hands to this people. And so keep in mind where he says, I've stretched out my hands to a disobedient and contrary people. Who is he reaching out to? Israel. And so we understand that it is, as 10 talked about their rejection, it ends with God still saying, come to me, come to me. And so chapter 11 is the conclusion of all this. Now, as we're seeing here, has God rejected the people who've stumbled? Now, we've talked about this multiple times, verse 17 of chapter 11, and some of the branches were broken off, that you, being a wild olive tree, were grafted in with them. So keep in mind that branches were broken off, the tree wasn't cut down. It's important to understand. And so if God can reject his promise, if he can renege on his promise to Israel, and that he said, hey, all Israel is going to be saved, then keep in mind that what can happen is this. If there are those who believe that God can no longer fulfill his promise to Israel, why would they believe that God would fulfill their promise to them if they receive Christ? If they do one thing wrong, you're out of here. That's not God's plan. And so understand that what has happened is this. As the church began with, Judaism, we looked at that. Eventually the church became more and more Gentile oriented, less Jews. Initially the Jews came, filled it, Gentiles were added. And as the Gentiles were added, what happened is the church left the practices of Israel. As the church left the practices of Israel, they believe this, that we're leaving the practices and God has left Israel. Completely different things. And so keep in mind that we see that there's a unity in the church of both the Jew and the Gentile, but even though there's the unity of the church of Jew and Gentile, it doesn't erase the distinction that God has. The Gentiles are one group, the Jews are another group, very distinct.